Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. Another day of a lifetime of Hallmark. I am Les Kirkendall Barrett. Hello, Jason Bowers.
Hello, Les Kirkendall Barrett.
And hello, Kurt Fitzpatrick.
Hello, Les Kirkendall Barrett, and hello, Jason Bowers.
We take movies from both Lifetime and the Hallmark Channel and try to make sense of them.
We're not very successful, though, because they don't often make sense, but they are fun to watch.
And we go down all kinds of rabbit holes. We talk about Angelian quite a bit. We talk about the show Enos.
June Squibb. We are Team June Squibb all the way.
And we have Black China news every single episode.
So with that in mind, why don't you listen to a lifetime of Hallmark? You can listen wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This is a Kirkendall Barrett presentation. Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite day of the week. It is time for another episode of The Reality Reading Rainbow, where I talk about books, about reality stars, particularly those on Bravo, and I try to make sense of them. I am your host, Les Kirkendall Barrett. One of the things that I like to do now that I'm starting to do this is I love the fact that I get a chance to interview people who I've always wanted to chat with. And this person is, I've wanted to chat. Okay, you know what? I'm going to introduce him and then we'll get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Andrew. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Some of you guys may know me from Rich Andrew on Sherelle's World, but right now I'm Andrew's Lifestyle on Instagram and YouTube. So if anybody wants to connect to me through that way.
Oh, are you YouTubing now?
Yes, I just started my own YouTube channel yesterday.
Awesome. Because I was going to tell you that you need a podcast, you need a YouTube channel because you are hilarious. You are so funny. How I started watching you and becoming a fan of yours is I saw you on YouTube. I think you were on Sherelle's World, and you were talking about Wendy Williams. And it was just so hilarious that I became a fan. And over the past few months, you've been coming out with some really good tea. And like your tea tracks.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten some great stories. I think my favorite to date would have to be the Erica's divorce.
Yeah. And so the cool thing is your tea tracks. I was like, something would happen a few days later, and I'd be like, oh my God, Andrew was right.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I live in the Potomac, the 20854 zip code. So I'm all in politics. My dad's in politics, very heavily involved, and my mom's a high-powered attorney. So I've just always been I've had two very intellectual parents. So then when my love of reality television sparked, they were like, huh? So it all started with the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C., which, I mean, if no one's seen that show, there's 10 episodes of just pure bliss.
Now, I actually heard an interview that you did with Mary Amons, correct?
Yes, I did do that.
And yeah, that was really good. And the cool thing about your interview with her is I always wondered why that show was canceled, because even though, a lot of first seasons of The Housewives aren't the best, but I'm a big believer in season 1 is kind of a throwaway season, and season 2 is where the show actually really gets its legs and warms up. And after season 2 whether or not it's actually gonna last. And so I loved listening to your interview. And so basically it turns out that the Salahis created more trouble than it was worth to do the show.
Yeah.
So you live in Potomac, right?
Yes.
Do you live near any of the housewives?
Yes, I'm really close because it's not that big of a postal code. And Monique and Karen's house, I've run into Karen and Monique a couple times.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, there's a restaurant. So there's this thing called Potomac Crossing where there's like a hardware store and like a gourmet cheese like shop, and there's a restaurant. I've ran into both of them there actually because it's like the only restaurant in Potomac because the entire Potomac zip code is just houses.
Wow. Okay. And it's so funny because I have a sister that lives in the DC area, and she lives like in the Bethesda Chevy Chase area.
Oh, yeah, that's God. That's where it's right to live. I'm sorry. Everybody's like, they see Potomac and they're like, oh, I want to, like, isn't that the hot place to be? No, you want to be in the Bethesda Chevy Chase area.
And it's funny because, so when you talk about Potomac, I live in California, but I kind of know Potomac a little bit. But have you ever spoken to any of them?
Yes. One time it's been excuse me, the other time it's been I love what you do on television. So there's a
Was that to Karen or Monique or someone else?
Well, the excuse me was to Katie because I didn't want to start anything because I did run into Katie once.
Yeah, Katie's the one you kind of better say excuse me just in case.
Yeah, and I told both Karen and Monique that I absolutely loved what they did. Love what they do on the show. I really loved Karen. Really do love her. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so question. So you're a fan, but I would consider you honestly a super fan.
Thank you.
Because you actually have sources, you actually get tea, you actually get behind the scenes information that most of the time it really does track. How did you take it one step further? How did that come into place?
Well, I can give you this. My dad being involved with politics, NBC is very big in the politics world over here. So it really just, I used some of my father's contacts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. So they were like, I need you from NBC because NBC's owned by Bravo. I mean, Bravo owned NBC, and so does Comcast. So it's just all one big family. So all you have to do is
Comcast. NBC owns Bravo and Comcast, or Comcast owns
NBC. NBC in turns Bravo.
Gotcha. Got it.
So all you have to do, it's one really big family. All you have to do is place one call in one department, and they can direct you to the next one. So I'm like, Is this true? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, they're like, they don't mind because if you have this number, you're probably someone who it's okay for them to give you that information. So that's what happened. I've talked to insider sources. I mean, a lot of times people will come to me too, involving one divorce, not Girardi's, but divorce, but a very big divorce right now. I can't say the name because it would reveal that person's identity, but she gave me major information, and you guys can guess about major celebrity divorces that are going on right now. She was a former nanny.
Oh.
And she came to me and she was like, this is who this person, these are who these two people are dating.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's cool though that you have people coming to you now. Well, you know what? Hey, let's get into it. What do you have some good tidbits for us?
Yes, actually. So first, I don't know if you watched The Real Housewives of New Jersey.
I absolutely do.
So then you remember Jennifer Aydin's storyline last season with her daughter was that like they wanted to end homophobia in the family, right?
Right, because there was a gay uncle or something, correct?
Yeah, that was a completely made up storyline.
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't know if you were involved in TikTok at all, but Miss Gabby decided to post on her TikTok that her dream boy would be Southern, drinks a White Claw, plays football, and is homophobic.
Oh, so wait, so she just put it out like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, so what that in turns tells us is the fact that Jennifer is really there just to stir the pot, and the only reason producers have her there is just to stir the pot with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that just goes to show you that, like, you really have to be careful about the storylines in these shows because oftentimes they're falsified or they're filled in.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, also, too, in general, you know, you got to be careful of, especially these. I don't get these reality stars who will post stuff like that or other things, or even, and we'll get into Erica Jane probably in a minute, but even a lot of these housewives, kind of like Teresa and like Erica Jane and like Teddy, basically the internet is their undoing, and that's how they are getting caught. Well, in Teresa's case, you know, she had bundles of cash on TV, but in other cases, it's stuff that they post or the internet. That's what kind of does them in. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I mean, we look at this. There's another housewife on that franchise that I know for a fact puts out information to bloggers and things like that I know they want like information out on. Mm-hmm. That like they put it through a manager, the manager puts it out through channels, and they drop the information. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just to like understand the fact that like these people, and I mean, especially we see with like the Teresa Giudices, the Kyle Richards, it's been 10 years of their life. Mm-hmm. It would be hard for them to go back to anything else because, I mean, Carol Radswell has always said the only reason you stay at Housewives is because the check is so good. Mm-hmm. You are not really friends with these people. Mm-hmm. These are your work colleagues, and you're paid to make them cry. You're paid to make them laugh, and you're paid to invoke emotions. Mm-hmm. So what we see are people who are truly now desperate to keep these 6-7-figure checks. Mm-hmm. Which that in turn, money, you always hear money makes people do crazy things. Writing fake storylines about accepting your gay uncle, that's a pretty great way that's a pretty crazy in my opinion.
Right. And that kind of makes sense too, because I know for me, and this is me personally, I did not like Jennifer. I did not find her entertaining. I just didn't like her. But when that storyline came out about the gay uncle, I was like, oh, hey, you know what? I guess she's not bad.
Exactly. These are all, and when that told me, what that tells you is the fact that Jennifer was not likable before that. Mm-hmm. Jennifer's storylines in the previous seasons were just not that she was likable. She's married to a rich plastic surgeon who really is just a self-centered, narcissistic brat. Mm-hmm. Forgive me, that's what I think most people thought of her before the last season. But with her daughter dealing with bullying,
right,
and the homophobic storyline, we were all like, hey, maybe she's not so bad. Right. That's kind of Bravo's way of trying to say she's good at stirring the pot. That gets the ratings. Right. But we need her to be likable.
Right. Because, yeah, and that totally did the trick. Another thing that gets on my nerves about Jennifer, which gets on my nerves, and once again, this one proves to be, as we're learning from Erica Jane, the undoing of some of these housewives is... Okay, did you hear my interview with Ronald Richards that I did, the lawyer?
I think I heard parts of it, I believe.
Okay, so he and I He's a lawyer. He's tracking the Erica Jane case on Twitter at the moment.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
So
Yeah.
follow Ronald Richards on Twitter because he's a friend of this show. But anyway, he and I got into this conversation about the fact that there are a lot of people who are on these shows who are portraying themselves as rich when they're not necessarily rich. But in cases like Jennifer or even Erica, I personally am a big believer in I grew up with a lot of people who had money, and I grew up overseas, and so I was always grown up with, you don't talk about it, but you can show it all you want, but
exactly.
You just
it's like
talk about it.
You don't talk about checking accounts. You just talk. It's kind of a known thing. It's like people can look at you and they can like immediately assume, and no one talks about it, but they're like, oh, that person's doing well financially.
Right. And so I'm a big believer in show, not tell. Like, we could all see we can all see it. But for me personally, the minute that they start talking about it, then, that's when I kind of tune out. And so Jennifer was definitely one of those people who needed to show, not tell, because everything was, it's the most expensive, blah, 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 blah. And so, right, exactly. Exactly.
And we definitely see that with these housewives. We don't see them loving the historic brands. I've never seen a housewife wear Laurel Piana, which is a very old historic cashmere brand. But I see them wearing Gucci monogram because that is symbolic with wealth, and that's what they think in their head is symbolizes it. And we saw that. I don't know if you watched Salt Lake City.
Oh, absolutely.
I have so much tea on Salt Lake City. I could probably...
Let's start talking. Tell us your Salt Lake City tea.
So Jen Shaw, in her audition tape, I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
She said she, quote unquote, spends $50,000 a month. Now let's bring out our calculators here. Okay. Here we go. 50,000 times 12 is $600,000 a year. Right here. Mm-hmm. Now, her husband only makes $583 before taxes. After taxes, he brings home a little bit over $500,000.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, so therefore, we've already got a gap in her spending. Her house she's in is rented. Apparently, and we all saw the Toyota Land Cruiser from 1996 that her husband picked her up in from the Flappers party. And you're this rich queen.
Right. Right.
Now, the best part is, we all saw her office, right? That Shaw Squad headquarters.
Uh-huh.
That's a WeWork space. Her assistants are her friends who are just really there to like give Jen an edge. And now this is my favorite part. A former friend has come and told me the Porsche isn't leased.
Mm-hmm.
It's rented for the day they're filming it.
Oh my God. Okay, so wait a minute. So basically so it's basically kind of like one of those zip cars where
yeah.
Oh God.
They're using Turo. They're using Turo to rent a car, and that's why if you notice every single stage with the whenever they film with the Porsche, it's very planned. When you're going to Meredith's house, when you're going to a party that you've planned yourself,
Mm-hmm.
But when your husband has to go pick you up after you've had a meltdown, he picks you up in a 1996 Toyota Land Cruiser.
Hey, you're making sense.
Yeah. And then I also learned, because the production company for the first season, they dropped the first production company.
Oh, really?
So that has never happened on a Housewives show.
Mm-hmm.
They've dropped the first production company. They've switched to a new one for season 2. Now, the ratings with Salt Lake City, they literally got under 0.50 on Wednesday's episode.
Okay, see that I like Salt Lake City. And yeah, there's a few rough edges, but I think it's better than Beverly Hills. I think it's better than OC. So I don't understand why they're getting such bad ratings, because okay, yeah, Jen's a little extra, but it's not a bad show.
It's not a bad show. That's the
not at all.
Now, the reason why it's also not a bad show, at parties or any events that they plan, production will pay for 50 if the girls bring the drama.
Okay.
So if the girls bring the drama, production will pay for most of the party. They'll cover most of the party costs because, therefore, if they get enough footage to make an entire episode about it.
Okay. And I'm, that's actually, I believe that's actually a good thing. Because, I mean, come on, let's face it. Why do we watch these shows? We watch it.
But you see it when Jen loses it, and it's so unorganic, and her husband is like, "What's going on?"
Right.
That's to make sure that she doesn't have to pay for that entire party.
Right.
Which I thought is just it. Then it breeds these scenes that when you're watching, you're like, "Huh?" And Jen throws a drink at a golf party. Because that's what, on the last episode, I don't know if you've watched it already.
Yes.
That episode, I want to talk about that episode for a second. She's like throwing a drink. She's mad at Whitney. She's storming off. She's grabbing her husband. She's popping balloons. She's throwing balloons. And we're all watching and we're all like, huh? Like, Jen, you okay? I mean, I have to know what was going through your head when you saw that episode.
Well, so first of all, when it comes to Jen being mad at everybody because they're friends with Mary, I think that's 100% out of line, because it's one thing to if they're beefing, if they're having a problem, fine, but you shouldn't. We're talking about adults here. So I'm sure with her acting like that, I'm sure it would affect the taping too, which would affect the show. Or let's put it this way. Who I'm friends with is none of your business.
Exactly.
2 of them said they were afraid of her.
Meredith and Lisa. Yep. It's rumored.
But that being said, I do like Jen, and I do like this show. I love Whitney. And then who's the other one with the long blonde hair?
Heather Gay. Oh my goodness, I love Heather so much. Like, my Instagram, it's going to turn into like a Heather Gay and Sonia Morgan fan account, because oh my goodness. Now, apparently, a Salt Lake City producer, because everybody really likes Heather, they're kind of thinking about making a Vanderpump Rules kind of thing, but with her beauty office.
I would watch.
I would too. With the beauty lab, because it's a really big company. I don't think people realize that. They have billboards on the side of the roads. When she's not kidding, she built an empire. She did build an empire, which, I mean, hats off to her. Now, Miss Mary Cosby, I don't know. Now, this is the only thing that's going to affect the show.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
Mary has caused loss of advertisers.
Oh, wait, because of her situation?
Because of her situation and the fact that she's rumored to have done crazy things. And
I would believe that.
You see Mary on television and you see her preaching, and I've got no problem with whatever religion you are a part of. You do you.
Right.
But when you see Mary being Mary,
Mhm.
being kooky, she's a little.
But we need her on this. We need her on the show.
Yeah, we do.
We need her on the show.
We do. I think that is so true.
Just because just the story alone, I'm like, okay, we need to do a deep dive on her situation, you know.
Also, I want to see the will. That's the one thing I want to see. That's the thing I want to see. I want to be like, okay, so you received these properties, you've received your grandpa, you've received your aunt to have as your maid, who's also going to become your best friend because you're now a princess in hiding. Please, I need to know more. Like,
and I need more of her relatives to show up.
Now, a lot of her relatives have actually just completely, like, ever since they married each other, they've just been they've missed out on some key points in her life.
Well, okay. Have you seen? I think it's either her niece or her cousin. It's a younger lady who has a YouTube channel, and it's one of Mary Cosby's relatives. Have you seen that?
I know, but I have seen things with her cousins though.
Okay, because I remember seeing and the woman, like, she's younger, like I would say late teens, early 20s, and she goes into it and she goes into the story. And yeah, so they're speaking up, but I would love it if they would come and speak up on our television.
Right. Like, can we just do one Watch What Happens Live? Like, that's what I'm wondering.
Right.
Now, speaking the head of all of us, the biggest EP on this network, I hope you don't mind if we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
But Mr. Andy Cohen,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw what I found about him, but...
Okay, true story. I was watching you on Instagram, and when you showed that picture, I was like, I have to get this guy on my show right now, and DM'd you on the spot.
Yes. So, I have a friend who's found Andy Cohen's Grindr.
That's hilarious. Okay, so for all of you who don't know what Grindr is,
you're clearly not gay.
Right. Grindr is kind of like would you call it like a gay Tinder? But beyond. Like it's
a lifestyle for some people. It's like their entire life. Like, I mean,
right. You know, lots of shirtless pictures, lots of headless pictures, but showing the abs and pecs. Some people are more conservative and seriously do use it for dating. But Grindr, yes, Grindr is a lifestyle.
And I do not, and it's kind of just, it's infamous in the gay community. You all know what it is and what it's for.
Right.
So that's why finding one about Andy Cohen is so, the picture I found, I'm going to try to describe it here because I don't know if I can bring it up or you can bring it up, but,
yeah. Oh, because, no, I don't have, but no, yeah. I've seen the picture. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. He's holding a popper in one hand and a pride flag in another with a disco ball in the bathroom, and it's a great face picture.
Okay. So once again, for those of you who don't know what poppers are, okay, how would we describe poppers in G? And this isn't a G-rated show, but I don't want to get too
vulgar.
Right. So okay. So
it is an inhalant.
Right.
That is used to increase and build stamina.
Right. Stamina in a certain area
of
in your bedroom.
I think we navigated that one pretty well.
So everybody, if think about it for a second, or talk to your gay friends. They'll tell you all.
Talk to a gay friend, they'll give you the rundown.
But yeah, I saw that picture. I totally saw that picture. Okay, I have another question for you. And
yes.
Okay. So, when I first started watching you, you were saying that you had a friend who...
Michael Darby.
Michael Darby. Yes.
I know exactly what this is. Okay, I have to find a way to navigate this. So it's a family friend. It's my friend. My parents are, some of the most eccentric, eclectic people I knew. They build. It's not their. They have some very stuffy friends, some very fun, outgoing friends. So it wasn't surprising when my sister's friend, who's really just kind of all of our friend now, I was watching The Real Housewives, and he just walked in, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've with that guy," and I was like, "I need information," and then he goes, "Oh yeah, I was blank, blank, and blank," and I don't know what I can say on here, or just
Well, no, no, you can say.
Well, okay, let me put this out there. My sister's friend, he was kicked out by his parents for being gay. So, of course, my mom, being the very accepting person that she is, come stay here, we don't care what you do. He still needed to pay for college, so he became a male escort, I think. Okay. For a website. And after realizing that, this is the only time I've ever talked to him about it, but, I'm a person, I'm aware that these things happen. And he told me about it, and I've seen some of the messages. He blurred out what I couldn't see, and it was definitely Michael Darby.
Wow.
Allegedly. Yeah, let me just put that out there. So.
Yeah, let's just say allegedly.
Allegedly.
But I mean, put it this way: it's allegedly, but I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just his antics on the show alone, which I'm like, okay, dude, come on. You know that you are on this TV show, you idiot. At least
you know that people in business are going to see this. You know that anyone who's going to do a business deal is going to search up Michael Darby. He's on The Real Housewives. Let's see what he's done. Oh, he's supposedly gay. Let's pull out of this business dealing.
Or even more further than that, because there's another. We're both. I'm gay. My husband just my husband just woke up, and I'm like, please don't make noise, because he was I'm in our kitchen, and so he went walking in the kitchen.
Congratulations.
So, hey, there's nothing wrong with being gay.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is where I was going with this. So, okay, Michael Darby, you idiot. Why would you go home with a random person when you're on this TV show and that there is a good possibility that they're going to have their phones with them and snap your picture and release it to the press?
Right? I'm sorry, Potomac's ratings have really gone up over the past 2 years. It would be one thing if it was the second season when everyone just kind of forgot about the show, but then in the DC area, but now people know it, and people know all the cast members now. And
I honestly think after this season, Potomac is the best Housewives show in the franchise after this past season.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think it's definitely on track to beat out the fan favorite spot of Atlanta. In my opinion, people can destroy me for that, but I see the way the network's promoting it, and the fact that we see that the best shows are rewarded. We see that.
Right. Well, for years, I mean, for other than the first season, which I do think the first season was kind of meh, but for me, I always expect the first season to be kind of meh. And that's why I am impressed with Salt Lake City, because for a first season, they're just going in and going for it. Even Jen, like they're just going for it. Yeah. But I've always thought that that Potomac has been kind of treated like the bastard stepchild of the network, and it really doesn't get the promotion that it deserves.
Exactly, but we saw it differently this season. This season, the producers knew that we've got a great season on our hand. We need to promote it in the best light. They got it by giving it the Sunday time slot, primetime Sunday, which that's reserved for the best earners. They moved Below Deck. I don't know if they moved the Below Deck franchise to make way for Potomac.
Oh, really? Okay. And
yeah.
I watched them both. I watched both Below Decks.
Oh, you haven't seen Sailing yet?
I tried, and I made it like a half an episode.
Same with me. Same with me. I was watching and I'm like, okay, Adam, I liked you on Med, but now I just don't feel you. I don't like it.
So yeah, Sailing Yacht. Anyway, so yeah, and so with the Michael Darby thing, I'm like in the back of my head, and you know, and like I said, I'm a married man. So when he's doing this stuff, my thought is always, okay, do you want a divorce? You know,
I just
and even
honest with us, because then if they're honest with us and they tell us, we will probably all completely just back off them.
Right. And here's another thing. I'm not in an open relationship, but I see nothing wrong with an open relationship. But what I do think is wrong is the fact that by him screwing up and ending up in the press and ending up in the paper, it's embarrassing her. And especially now that you have kids, when you have little kids, you need to get your act together just for the kids, you know, because the kids are going to have to go to school.
Yeah, you have one already, and then you've got another one on the way. I mean, I don't know, but Jackie Kennedy is my personal style icon. She is mine, like, oh my goodness.
And you're wearing a pair of fabulous pearls, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, so she's my style icon. So, I mean, of course, I've read every single book. I've read her sister's books. I've read Carol's books. Like, I mean, everything that is done with the whole Jackie Onassis Kennedy clan. And she did know what was going on with her husband, because that was the only thing that he indulged in. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke. That was just his sort of stress release, and that's what he did.
Right.
And she knew that.
Right.
And she knew that he would always come home at night.
Right.
And he would never ever stray away.
Right.
Which I think,
but she knew they probably had some sort of a deal, but for the most part, because I think there were rumblings at times, for the most part, he didn't embarrass her, though.
Yeah, he never embarrassed her, and I'm sorry. The President of the United States is a little bit higher than a reality star, just a smidge, just not by much, but, you know, just a little bit. So, but I think Michael Darby does need to clean up his act, and he doesn't need, if he's going to do it, he should do it in a country like Australia, you know? Right. He goes over, so sorry, girl, so sorry, Ashley, I have to go to Australia for the weekend. Going to be flying Qantas, and then I'll be going to Sydney and doing some business deals. Sorry, that's a bad accent, but like Michael Darby. And that way, nobody really watches Potomac over there. They don't really know him.
Right. Or even, come on, you guys are in the DC area. There are places where you could go.
Yeah, and
you know, there are places.
Going to the MGM Grand Casino, I'm sorry. We only have one casino. Like, because we have such, I don't know if anybody's familiar with DC laws and like the DMV laws. Secure, like, because we have so much high level security in the area, that doesn't really allow us to have fun things like casinos. So the fact that we have the MGM Grand Casino and National Harbor is a one-off experience, and everybody in the DC area really only goes to that casino. There's really no other place to go. You can go to Charlestown, West Virginia, which is about 2 hours away for the casinos.
Right.
There's one in Baltimore, but I mean,
so now are these people, since it is filmed in the DC area, are the housewives and their spouses kind of well known in the DC area?
some are, some are not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what really sets you apart is your charity work in DC and what your family has done politically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh no, I was gonna say it's just funny because my sister lives in the DC area and my sister doesn't watch Bravo, and my sister's like, I don't know who any of those women are.
Exactly. The only one that I like. Okay, so I went to private school and I did not see any of the girls' kids.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that my parents kind of knew was Karen.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because Karen does a lot of charity work, and when you do a lot of charity work, your lives will overlap. Like, I mean,
Right.
yeah. So actually, one thing I didn't realize before I was doing the Mary Amons interview is the fact that, like, her and my dad's are friends on LinkedIn. Like, they've been on charity boards together.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't realize that before I did the interview. And so that just goes to show you that, like, if you're in DC and you are these supposed very wealthy people, well-to-do people,
Mm-hmm.
you know other people, but when you don't know anybody, it looks very suspect. It looks very...
Did you go to Bullis?
No. I went to a tiny itty-bitty school called Holy Redeemer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the school's claim to fame is the highest paid person in Maryland sent their kid there. So the University of Maryland's basketball coach, Luke Turgeon's kid, the Turgeon kid went to my school.
Mm-hmm.
So we had very good donation money because when the dad makes $1.5 million and he needs a tax write-off,
Mm-hmm.
he donates a gym to his kid's school. So imagine this little like school next to the church, and then you've got the most beautiful basketball court you've ever seen, like on par to be like an NBA level court. It was the strangest thing.
That's great. Because I know about Bullis because I lived in Spain and I went to the American School of Madrid. And so we had a bunch of kids from Bullis come to our school. Like it was like a summer thing. And so a bunch of kids. So it wasn't it wasn't related to my school, but it was like a group of students. And I was in high school, so I became friends with them and spent a summer hanging out with all these kids from Bullis. So that's how I know about it.
Yeah. My dad's from Rhode Island. He grew up in Newport, the Newport area. So, in New York. So he just really did that. And then, but my mom's been a DC native forever. So, she went to I don't know if you're familiar with the Madeira School.
No, my sister probably is because my sister.
Yeah, that's the school right next to the CIA headquarters. It's very good. I remember my mom was always telling me stories about how she would play lacrosse with Chelsea Clinton because they were in the same graduating class.
Uh-huh.
And those are stories that are just all too common in the DC area.
Right. Just
like you play lacrosse with Chelsea Clinton, or like you're playing soccer with the Obama's daughters. So when people, everyone because your kids are it's such a tight-knit community because it's not a big city. It's a big suburbs. Right. So for us not to know people, and I'm not sorry, I don't want this to go. I feel like I've completely derailed the conversation here. But
that's what this is all about. We're just two friends chatting. So go for it.
And so not to know these people was definitely an alarm. But then it made sense when we watched the show because they were trying to make a name for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't really do charity work. And if you ever want an entree into society, what anybody will always tell you is do the charity work, sit on galas and boards, put your name in the sponsorship, make sure your name is one of the first names people read, and people will know you.
Right.
I'm not going to throw people under the bus. Giselle has never once donated to a charity. Or had her name.
Afford it? Can she
They
afford it?
say that $900,000 home that is not in Bethesda, Maryland, that is in Rockville.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What I was going to ask you is, okay, so how many of them actually live in Potomac? And if they don't live in Potomac, where do they live?
So do you remember at the beginning of the season why Wendy and Robin went on like this like park date with their kids?
Right. Yeah.
That's because they live closer to Baltimore together.
Okay.
They are not far away from each other. They both live in the Baltimore area. Candace is now in Upper Marlboro.
Mm-hmm. Now, Baltimore is about an hour away, right?
45 minutes. I mean, it's not a big state, so it's really like 45 minutes to an hour, depends on traffic.
And isn't Upper Marlboro kind of gentrified? Like it, at one point wasn't necessarily the best area?
Depends on what part. And it's due to systemic racism in the DC area is why PG County has more active violence and things like that. And it is completely wrong that PG County gets the name that it does. But Upper Marlboro, it depends on what part you're in. She's in a gated golf course. She's in a gated golf course community. She's like...
But it's probably one of those neighborhoods where you get more bang for your buck.
Right? You do. And that's why she chose it. And she used to live in National Harbor in a townhouse, which is, I mean, she's saying this is something that's very sketchy with Bravo. She said that they spent $1 million to buy the home in Upper Marlboro. The home sold for $649,000.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. That's a huge price difference. I don't care what socioeconomic tax bracket you're in or where you are financially. That's you're saving $350,000 off of a house. They were clearly buying due to the pandemic, and it was pandemic buying.
Right.
Because they came from a townhouse in National Harbor. Right. Which, I mean, it's a nice area, but I mean, I've really only been for the Cirque du Soleil shows that go there, so.
Right. And so then, so of course, Monique and Karen do live in Potomac.
Yeah.
And then who's left? That was
Ashley.
Ashley. She lives in probably DC, right?
She lives in Arlington, yeah.
Oh, okay. So over the bridge.
Yeah, over the bridge. Yeah. I mean, she lives
in Arlington, actually.
Yeah, Arlington's really nice. I mean, there's beautiful places in Virginia, not too far from Old Town Alexandria. I mean, it's a really nice place to live. I mean, it's really from Michael's work that they live there. And the fact that they don't have a huge family. I imagine by baby number 2, they're probably going to branch out into a single family home. And I think we're going to see them sell the penthouse.
Now, do you honestly see them remaining together much longer?
Dead or alive?
Oh, alive.
Well, of course, I mean, Michael's already had kids before.
Right.
No, Ashley, I can already tell she's a little bit like me in the sense that, like, I was taught to fight for a marriage. That, like, if it's going up in smoke, you don't quit when the road gets rocky. And I mean, I'm sure some people just don't agree with that. But I can already tell Ashley is one of those people who are like, let's stay with this. Let's get through this. Let's try to fix it. And I think the marriage would have to be on the last leg. Like, I mean, the last leg for her to get a divorce. It would be, you do this, I walk out and I get everything.
Right.
And that's what her agreements say.
Right. Okay. So, and then I also think, because, you know, we've seen her history on the show. We've seen her bio dad treat her like crap on the show. Okay. So I'm sure that psychologically plays into it as well.
Absolutely. And we see that it's so evident in the fact that she wants Dean and the future baby's father to really be involved in their life as much as they can, because she's realized that Michael's older than her by a lot.
Right. A lot. A lot.
So she wants to make sure, and I've heard this actually from a close insider, she wants to make sure that the kids are involved in Michael's life for as long as they can be, if that makes sense.
Oh no, that makes a lot of sense. No, that totally makes sense.
That's what I thought too, because I mean, it makes, of course, I feel bad talking about it because unfortunately these kids' father will
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
be with them the longest.
Yeah. Baby Dean did turn out to be very cute though. There's a podcast. Do you listen to podcasts?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you listen to Watch What Crappens?
Yes, I do.
So I love their Baby Dean, the wah wah, their Baby Dean impression.
So funny. Oh my goodness, I love that. I don't know. Do you listen to Everything Iconic with Danny Pellegrino?
I do.
Yes, that's a great one too. Oh my goodness, I listen to so many.
Well, the whole reason why this podcast is a podcast is because I am a member of one of the Watch What Crappens Facebook groups.
Oh,
And so what happened is I'm a performer, and so I travel around a lot. And so I was on the road and I went to this thrift shop and I saw the Denise Richards book for $1. And so I bought it. And so as a joke, every day I would read a little bit and post it on the page, right? And so after a while, people were like, you know what? You need to turn this into a podcast.
You are really good at it. Oh my.
And so I turned it into a podcast. So in a way, I know I'm not an official spin-off of Watch What Crappens at all, but I kind of feel like that a little bit because that's how this got going, is because of being a Crappens fan. And the hosts of Watch What Crappens have been great. They're actually very supportive and very nice guys.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Ben and Ronnie. But yeah, so yeah, good. I'm glad you do listen to Watch What Crappens because it's hilarious.
No.
So question. So do you have anything more stuff?
Back to Andy Cohen for a second.
Okay.
I got talked. A Chicago Versace store manager came to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so the Versace store manager came to me and it fully told me that the photos were real, and Andy is a very grabby person.
Mm-hmm.
That when he sees something that he likes, he really goes at it.
I could believe that. Well, let's just say allegedly, but I can believe that.
Allegedly, that sounds true. And I was reading, and I'm doing more research on Andy Cohen, and I mean, the way he was on New Year's Eve, and I mean, yes, but so I don't want to really support Kathy Griffin here, but she was saying that he did snowflakes, and I think we all know what I mean by snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everybody was saying that Anderson Cooper in the show the New Year's Eve thing with Andy Cohen, that he was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been around anybody who does snow or anybody who's not.
I have.
Yeah. Andy Cohen was not on. That was not drinking. That was snow. I mean, asking the way he was talking, the way that he didn't. Anderson Cooper was like, I've never really, like, I know what's going on with Andy. Let's try to change the topics because. And we were seeing that, and it was so evident that Andy was on drugs at that moment.
See, I didn't watch the New Year's Eve thing, so I didn't see it.
My God.
And the funny thing is, though, like, as you're saying this, and then let's just say allegedly, Justin, allegedly. But as you're saying this, it doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise you. But everybody, was saying that, like, I was dad shaming him by doing that. No. He has a young son now. Let's make sure that Andy's around to take care of that young son.
And you know what, though? I in my opinion, I do get the sense that he is a good dad. I do get that.
I do.
And the little kid looks happy. The little kid looks very happy.
Yeah. Also, I received from a person who works inside the NBC News Network the reason why they never sued Kathy Griffin for slander.
Mm-hmm.
Because drug use, that is a huge reason for slander. That would have opened an investigation.
Right.
Now, that investigation would have allegedly found things.
And he is open about pot use. He's open about that.
Yeah, he is open about that. And I don't want to give anybody who smokes marijuana or anything that a bad name, because people often say marijuana is a gateway drug. No, it's not.
See, I'm in LA. It's legal. It's legal here.
Yeah. Not a gateway drug. You'll be fine. Like but Andy does. I'm not saying that he has a problem. I'm not saying anything. I just making sure that people know I'm not dad shaming him. I'm just giving facts at this point.
Well, and here's the thing. So I've always had a soft spot for Andy Cohen. And the reason why is because I hang out in West Hollywood. You've heard of West Hollywood, of course.
Yeah.
I hang out in West Hollywood. Well, before the pandemic, I hung out.
Before the pandemic, yeah.
And so I have a good friend who was a cocktail waitress. And so Andy Cohen, one night I went to the bar where she worked, and Andy Cohen was there. And I didn't. And it was funny because it was crowded, but nobody was really, he was with a friend, I guess, but everybody was kind of doing their own thing and it was crowded. But my friend the next day just kept on talking about how nice he was. And he said he was so nice to her.
That's what I've heard.
Especially as a server, sometimes people treat you like crap.
Celebrities won't even like make eye contact, especially like in like West Hollywood or New York or DC. They'll just be like this. They'll be like, I would like a Cobb salad. Hold the eggs. Like,
right. And so she kept on saying that how he was just wonderful to her. He was nice to her. So after hearing that story, I actually like
he grows
him.
on you.
Because and you know what? I honestly see that's kind of a test, though, how people treat servers or people, how people treat servers is kind of how most of the time how they are,
Yeah. I don't want this to come off like I don't like Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't come off like that at all. Not at all. Not at all.
No, this is just telling what I know. If that, yeah.
Right, no. And that's I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone. I dropped things.
Oh, so now is there any more stuff to chat about?
Well, wait, we haven't gone into Mr. Rarty.
Oh, hello.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Wow. This elephant in the big purple elephant in the room. So I was recently on Dishing with Dana, the podcast with Dana Wycliffe.
Oh, yes. From
Beverly Hills.
Housewives of Beverly Hills, yes.
Did you know 25,000?
25,000, yeah.
Yeah. 4 carats of diamonds, python, gold, like solid gold. Sorry. I react that scene too much on a daily basis. Like, I don't know about you, but does anybody like treat these people like that they are the most famous people in the world? I'll be doing a conversation and I'll be like, so Teresa Giudice said this, and my friends who don't watch Bravo are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, so Erica Jane is hiding money and she stole from cancer victims, and you're like, who is she? And I'm like, she's Erica Jane. And they're like, huh? I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
Okay, so I have a very good friend, Mark. Hi, Mark. And so Mark and I, like, we literally talk about TV like they're our friends. So I remember one time we were talking about Brandi Glanville. And so we're like talking about her, and a friend of ours was like, Brandy? Who's Brandy? And we were both at the same time turned around and said, Glanville.
See, that happens all the time. I mean, so my dad, he's very big into politics. I mean, he was a campaign manager for some presidential campaigns. I mean, he's done some really important stuff politically. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so I'm sitting at the dinner table, and then Teresa Giudice said this, and then I fully have reenacted the table flipping scene so many times. Like, I can the accent down, and he's like, what are we? And so who's Teresa? And I'm like, oh, it's Teresa Giudice. She's from New Jersey. She got arrested for fraud.
Right.
And you're glorifying this person. I'm like, no, she's great. And then you're like, and my dad's like trying to get it. And I'm just like, it's okay. Like, just get it. But Erica Jane, with her divorce, I first said that it was a shame.
Mhm.
And when I was on dishing with Dana, I found out that before the show, I found out that the second jet, it was a commuter bus. When I mean it's a commuter bus, you'll get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
It was shared with 16 different people.
Oh God.
And it was a time-shared jet. And that's actually what they're called. So Girardis didn't own it.
Oh, wait, so it's called a timeshare jet?
Yeah, it's called a timeshare jet.
Because I have a I have a friend who like has a plane, but it's his.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Girardi jet number 2 in the Girardi fleet, they were 2 out of 16 people who had that jet for a certain time of year.
Right.
And that makes it a lot more affordable than to have a full-time jet, which they later did buy.
Mhm.
They later bought a Gulfstream that they bought in 1995.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's so funny because I'm reading Erica Jane's book right now.
Pretty mad.
For this podcast.
Mhm. You see
it's let's just say it's not the best book it's not the most interesting book on the channel. I mean on the book list.
Yeah. I have a question. I don't know. Are you planning on reading Cop Without a Badge?
Absolutely, because I a couple of books ago I read the Danielle Staub book that she wrote.
Yeah.
So, and a good chunk of it was that husband that she talks about in her book is the ex-husband who wrote Cop Without a Badge. So no, I'm totally gonna read it.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, she's only mentioned for 19 pages. This is very helpful to know before reading the entire book.
Oh, is it not great? Is it not great?
It's the most interesting book. Don't pay for it. Make sure you can get it from your local library, I think.
Right. Or else, or you even on, okay.
Amazon books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's only mentioned for 19 pages, and when I was reading it, I'm like, okay, so where is everything else? Because I was expecting it to be this whole expose book about how, Danielle, she was prostitute, stripper, doing cocaine, smuggling drugs, kidnapping, the whole works.
Right. Oh, yeah.
19 pages. I was just
so funny because in her book, which I guess is kind of a clapback to Cop Without a Badge, it's all, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And there's so many holes in her book. It's ridiculous. So let me okay, so I'm going to put the scenario out for you. And so she's talking about, so she's like, one day I came home from work and I ran into one of my neighbors. And so my neighbor said that, so then she's like, and so he was saying that somebody was after him. And she's like, and so I didn't think there was anything wrong because, he had fast food in his house. And he told me how this person who I introduced him to was after him because he stole their drugs. And then she's like, and then the next thing I know, the police were showing up and they were taking me away in handcuffs. And then the next thing I know, I was awaiting trial in the penitentiary. And I'm like, hold it. You don't go straight to the penitentiary.
Right. This is the story. It's completely filled with loopholes. And I mean, a homegirl, I hope just own up to what you did. When Dina says, Danielle, I have one thing to say to you, own up to what you are. Please do, because it would just make life so much more easy. Now, I have a friend who went to school, who knows her daughters.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, poor girls. Well, because of all her antics on the show, I always wonder, these people who have these high school age kids, it's like, okay, what you're doing is probably affecting your kid in school with other people, right?
Yeah, and Danielle, and they said Danielle would really do anything to keep the check. And I learned more about her former ex-husband, the one when she was on the show with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever want to like get into people's like ex-husbands or anything or just family matters, but I mean, she was not lying about how much money he did have.
Mm-hmm.
But he was withholding payments, and most of these women, when I look at their divorces, they don't really hire the best lawyers.
Right.
Sonia Morgan, when she was divorcing, I don't know if you've ever seen the video I did about Sonia.
No, I didn't.
Oh, her divorce, her husband just gave her lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit.
And then didn't she blew her money though, right?
She blew her money on a movie that was never made.
Oh God. Which I could totally see her doing that.
Like, poor Sonia. Like, I just feel bad for her at some point. You know, I was just on Street Easy the other day. I don't know if you know what Street Easy is.
No.
But it's a New York City real estate site. Oh,
Uh-huh.
and, oh my goodness. And I see Sonia's townhome on there.
Uh-huh.
And I just look at that and I'm like, oh, sweetheart, you are never going to be able to sell that property.
Well, I mean, because inside, isn't it kind of a wreck?
No, it's just... Actually, it's just the foundation of the home isn't great.
Okay.
And it's given away for a lot of problems
Mhm.
that kind of were never really fixed.
Right.
So I just feel bad. And I just look at that and I'm like, oh, sweetheart.
I like Sonia, though.
I love Sonia. I want just like... The thing is, we all love Sonia. I don't know, like... and the reason... No, do you know how much she gets paid per season?
How much?
612.
Oh. Well, I guess for her, though.
It's
didn't
good.
she not have any money?
Well, yeah, the only reason that she was able to keep it is because she was making the really good check from the show. So, I mean, she's making less than she's making about, she makes a little bit more than Leah.
Mm-hmm. Wait, okay. So, oh, wow. Okay. See, now
That-
that's put into perspective because Leah is the newest one, right?
Yeah.
So isn't it like she's kind of the low man on the totem pole
Yeah.
time-wise, correct?
Yeah,
So
but,
is
and I
it
mean,
that- is it that Sonia doesn't know how to negotiate, or what? do
Sonia
you think?
does, but she knows that if they keep her she's a fan favorite, they keep her cost low, and I mean, sorry, she's not getting paid an awful lot per episode. I mean, she's still getting paid, $600,000.
Right.
That's still a fair amount.
Right.
But I mean, she's getting paid. She's doing what she has to do, and she's taking a loss because that means they'll keep her on longer. So she can guarantee that $600,000 for longer.
That makes sense. And when you think about it too, I mean, her daughter, I'm sure her ex-husband is taking care of her daughter. So so she probably doesn't have a lot of out of pocket when it comes to the daughter because her daughter probably has way more money than she does.
I would. So this is someone who's got access to the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
After the age of 25, John Adams Morgan will have nothing to do with Quincy Morgan.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. We're like, oh my God, that sounds awful. And also, Mr. Morgan is on his fifth wife.
Right. That I know.
Connie Morgan. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she is. And his oldest son, John Adams Jr.,
What is he, like 60?
70.
How old is he? How old is her ex?
John just turned 90. Yeah, John just turned 90 last year.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So there is a 50-year age gap between his oldest and youngest child.
Wow. So his oldest child is older than Sonia.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have tried to talk to his ex-wives, but you would not believe how hard it is because they're all under NDAs.
Right. Okay. I believe too.
God, and I was trying to figure out his first wife is dead. Like, I feel bad. So, and as they were doing the assets, I realized how much money he hid from Sonia in the divorce because it only listed his assets in excess of under $59 million.
Right.
Sonia, they scrounged every single penny they could to find her assets. She was valued at a little over $16 million.
Before the movie.
Before the divorce, while they were filing it. And I'll send you the case text, actually, because it's the abbreviated case text.
Ooh, yes, please.
Which I'll send you. My God, the divorce, it was so crazy because I got access to the full divorce, which I can't get that out without an attorney, so you might have to find an attorney to get that. But that one is super interesting. Back to Erica Jane, but her divorce.
Yeah, I was like,
I feel so bad, but yeah.
No, don't feel bad because this is good conversation. Don't feel bad at all. This is great conversation.
Thank you for giving me already so much of your time, an hour and 14 minutes. You have no idea how much that means, but thank you for give up an hour and 14 minutes.
And just know that you're welcome. And just know I'm putting it out there right now. You are welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much. I'd love to be back. Like, oh my goodness, I love doing podcasts. It's so much fun to do. And but Erica, the divorce is a sham, and for anybody who doesn't know, and it's really for Tom to hide assets. And that's what it is. So the Girardis are asset rich, cash poor. He's right now in a bankruptcy hearing. He's filing for Chapter 7, for anybody who doesn't know. And it's not really being talked about, which is the really sad part, because I have seen not really any major news outlet cover this.
You should follow Ronald Richards, because Ronald Richards is like
on it.
On Twitter. Ronald Richards is on it. So I read Ronald Richards, so I know what's going on.
And he apparently said that he had $88 million at one point, but he's blown it all. He's hiding money from plane crash victims. And we're looking at the divorce, and I've realized Erica's gone. I mean, what she's right now trying to do is she's trying to protect anything that she wants. Now when your assets are frozen like Tom's are,
right?
There is police surveillance underneath both of their houses.
Oh, that's
something I don't see anybody talking about. There's a 2005 brown unmarked Crown Vic outside both of the gates there where Erica and Tom are right now, wherever they are, to make sure that no assets move, nothing. And the FBI, the feds the IRS are probably in both of their homes taking inventory of both of their things because their divorce is not finalized yet.
Right. That I know.
Yeah. So there are people in there taking count just to see. I'm so sorry. I keep dropping things.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yes. Just keeping count of where everything's going, where everything is, because. And the first thing to do is they're going to go in and they're going to take charge of Erica's closet and Erica's jewelry. Because we all see the Panther rings, we all see the Cartier de Panther rings, we all see the studs, the hoops, the jewelry, the everything, the diamonds.
Right.
Honey, you're the ice queen while you're about to be the icy queen in bars. Because we're trying to figure out how complicit Erica was for all of this. And I think that's what everybody's trying to figure out.
Right.
How complicit was Erica? And from what it looks like, she knew what was going on, and she had no problem with it. So now it's turning out they now have to rule what state Tom's in what his mental capacity is, because people are rumoring and that it's alleged that he suffered a stroke.
Oh, okay.
Which has caused him not to practice law. And for anybody who knows, his law firm. Can I tell you how much money they had at the end of this year?
How much?
$18,000.
Which is not a lot.
That's barely covering operating cost. Now, when I was on Dishing with Dana, I thought she was telling me about the most incredible thing. About a year and a half ago, the building next to Girardi's law firm is a cyberspace building. An Apache helicopter landed. People broke in to the cyberspace building and took cybersecurity in a building that was owned by Tom Girardi.
Oh wow!
And it never received news coverage.
Oh wow!
So helicopter, we're talking complete total spy Top Gun kind of deal here. Right. Helicopter comes down, runs in, steals cybersecurity. What? That's the stuff that people make movies out of. Was Tom trying to make a movie deal out of this? We're all trying to figure out, was he making a movie deal out of this? Was this true? Was it let's steal to, try to cover our tracks?
Right.
Now,
right.
What I know is apparently Girardi was trying to stage a break-in at one point. And I don't know if this is being talked about, but he tried to stage a break-in at the home, and that was one of the reasons that Erica is divorcing him. Is in the reason.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because they were going to take like some of her stuff. She didn't want that, and because then he'd get the insurance payout and pay off some creditors.
And let's just throw alleged in there. Just
allegedly trying to pay off creditors, which unfortunately is very common, and it's what a lot of people do. Oh, yeah. But I mean, if the diamonds never turn up anywhere, I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, all diamonds over 3 carats are encoded with a code that you have to have a laser to wipe off. Now, guess where there happens to be a laser that can do that?
Where?
In the Tom Girardi cyberspace building.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. And you hear about stuff like that, and I'm putting in quotes, where someone's been quote unquote robbed, or in some cases where the building quote unquote burned down. So no, that makes sense.
Art quote unquote went missing. Like that's there was a huge break-in. I mean, and it was damaging to see what was going on with the Girardis, because it makes you question everything Erica said. Now,
absolutely. And I'm reading her book right now. I'm slogging through her book right now, and it's so funny because I'm still at, oh my God, okay, it's chapter 4, and she's only 18. It's chapter 4.
You know what? Good for you. I tried to get through that book, and it was like I couldn't.
Well, I'm listening to it on Audible. And
you're doing? Yeah, that's the way to do it. I don't know. Speaking of Real Housewives and audiobooks, if you have not listened to Carol's audiobook for What Remains.
Oh, it's good?
She does the audiobook for it, and she spent so long trying to get the audiobook to be perfect in the way she did it. And it is truly an inspirational story. And that is my favorite housewife book, What Remains.
Right.
It is near perfection in my opinion. And I mean, but the fact that you're getting through Erica's book right now, hats off to you.
Well, it's so funny because what I'm trying to do, because the podcast hasn't been around all that long, but what my original intention is to kind of spread the wealth and do one from every franchise. But then what happens is then someone like does stuff like Erica, and gets busted for embezzling. So then I'm like, okay, well, I got to stay current. So then their book goes to the top of the list. So that's the only reason why I'm doing Erica Jane, is because of all the stuff going on.
I know. Like, I mean, and I definitely think, if we're going to talk about Housewives books, I don't personally recommend the Life on the Ramona Coaster.
I've already read it.
Okay.
I've already read it. And you know what? Erica's book makes Life on the Ramona Coaster look like a
Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Exactly. And the thing is, with Erica's, the difference is Ramona's book isn't because they have ghostwriters, we know. Ramona's book isn't well written, but it was actually, even though it was a badly written book, it was kind of entertaining for me, just because reading about how Ramona talks about herself with the juxtaposition of how she actually acts on the show. So that was entertaining for me.
Exactly. Right? That's the sole redemption arc of that book. It's just the fact that we look at Ramona and we talk about her. Now the best part, my favorite part. Wait, now I have to ask, what's your favorite franchise?
Oh, okay. New York.
Okay, me too. Now, I have seen every single episode. Now, my favorite line that was ever dished was at the beginning of season 3 when Bethany and Luann go into the bar in the Hamptons.
Right.
I watched the episode on a daily, and she's like, no, you dumb drag queen. Like,
Is that the one where Luann at the end was like, well, aren't you going to pay? You invited me. Was it that lunch?
yes. And she was like, and then, well, you're in that skinny girl car, and there people are like, well, you're plastered. Everyone's plastered with an Hermes belt, Gucci, this, that. You're basically a walking advertisement. And she's like, well, yeah, Hermes isn't paying me. And she's like, no, yeah, you dumb drag queen. That's the point. I'm driving around in a car with my name on it. Like,
And who got the last laugh? Bethany.
right. In fact, the only person that I can watch, New York is the only one that I can watch in front of my parents with Bethany on, because my parents don't hate her.
Right.
Because Bethany, if you ever want to get anybody into Housewives, you slip in with Bethany, and it works.
Now, have you seen any of the Housewives franchises from overseas?
Yes, actually, right now I'm embarking on the Real Housewives of Jersey.
Okay, I just read about that. I haven't watched it.
Oh my goodness, I've talked to already all the housewives on the cast already. Teresa Hartman is my favorite.
Mhm.
She's my personal favorite. And it's very. Have you ever seen the Real Housewives of Cheshire?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's so much different than Cheshire, and it's really different than any of the franchises that we've seen so far.
Right.
And in fact, it's just no one actually really like. There's so many housewives that they're people. It's just like they're friends with this person. So
Right.
2 people. It's like out of the 8 people, there's 4 friend groups,
Right.
and then they all just intertwine.
Wait, there's 8 people on in the cast?
There's like 8 or 7 people. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to say, well, you don't know me. Well, if you know me, you know that I wear my heart on my sleeve. And then she's just like, yeah, because I don't really know you. And like all the women are trying to say that like they're these big Jersey socialites, but really the only one is Teresa,
Right.
Teresa Hartman. But and so they're just like, nobody knows you here. And then they were like, I'm the biggest real estate person on the Isle of Jersey. Like, and they're just like in the very like accents, and it's great.
That's because the Real Housewives of Cheshire, they're all like soccer wives.
Yeah.
Then the Real Housewives of Auckland, which gone too soon. I heard a rumor, and it's just a rumor, and I don't know how it tracks. I heard a rumor that there was talk of bringing it back, but it's just a rumor.
Yeah.
I hope that rumor's true. That
And
was
then for,
such a good show.
Oh, speaking of rumors, allegedly, there's going to be a new season of a franchise in Miami.
I loved Miami.
Apparently, they're filming and casting right now, apparently.
Miami was another one gone too soon.
Oh, God, I know. Okay, now I would like to use this hashtag, and please feel free to anybody use this. Cancel OC, bring back DC. That's what I'm using to mine. Now, you can insert anything in the DC slot holder. You can put Miami, just because this season of Orange County has been near unwatchable.
So you're watching?
Oh, you are?
Well, okay. So in light of the Kelly Dodd comments, I chose not to watch. But I was starting to think over the past couple of weeks, the election's over. Everything's dying down. Why don't I give OC a shot? And then the stuff happened this week in DC, and I was like, you know what? No, I can't support that. I can't support
exactly
her. I can't. She with her flapping her jaws about
Like, let me share this right now.
Yeah, sure.
So my dad works in politics. I just told you. If one of those if you know what I'm speaking about,
yeah,
one of those pipes exploded, my dad would have been in a blast radius. So let me just put that into perspective for people. And the best part is when people are saying I'm lying about my life, like, why would I lie that like people this close to me could have been this close to death? And that's when I stopped in Orange County and I said, Kelly, I actually DM'd her on Instagram, and she probably hasn't seen it and won't respond, but you caused this. You are part of the reason. You and your husband have caused what had happened on our Capitol.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean,
And so even like Southern Charm is another one that
yeah. I'm not watching this season either yet.
I was like, I can't. I can't.
I know. I couldn't. It was just, you can't buy all the episodes anymore. Like,
Of Southern Charm?
yeah, you can't buy all the episodes.
Oh, because of the racist overtones in like the early episodes?
Oh, are you going to be watching Dallas?
Yes.
Tiffany Moon. Oh my goodness, we've been friends on Instagram for about like
And
a
I was
month.
going to ask you about what you thought about Tiffany Moon. So perfect segue.
Yes, we've been talking for about like a month and a half on Instagram. She's so great, actually.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness! Like if she ever comes to DC, we're going to be doing a shopping day or something like fun like that. So.
And I love the fact that she confronted Brandy. Now we only saw the first part of it, but I love the fact that she spoke up. And I love the fact that she's making Brandy own up to what she did. Because because the thing that gets on my nerves is a lot of these people, they get caught with their racist tweets or their racist whatever, and then they throw out the blanket apology, and then they think that, okay, I've apologized, it's done. And it's like, no.
You haven't. I want you fired.
Right. And it goes way deeper than just an apology. And the only reason why you're apologizing is because you got caught. You're not truly sorry. You're apologizing to try to keep your job.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Tiffany, like Brandy's apologized, but Tiffany is saying, hey, look, this is how you doing that as an Asian person affected me. I'm loving that. So that's the only redeeming thing I think about Brandy staying is she's truly going to have to own up to what she did.
Now, this is a little bit more Potomac tea.
Okay.
They're casting for 2 housewives. So they're casting for 2 housewives on Potomac, one to replace Monique. Now,
which I'm very upset that Monique is leaving. I wanted her to stay.
I feel so bad, and part of me is just very upset. Like because she was to me. Sorry, but yeah. So they're casting for 2 housewives, one to replace Monique, which I've been deeply upset about, and then also, I've heard rumors that Candace is going to be fired because there's no reason to keep her on now.
And okay, speaking of owning up.
Exactly.
The homophobic stuff? No. And not just once, she has a history of homophobic tweets and homophobic posts.
And then you're going to... Now, this is what I don't see people talking about. I don't know. Have you ever watched RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. But she copied a very famous part of Drag Race history. It's the library.
Right.
It's the library. And her tagline. So you're going to say that Queenie men irk you, but then you're going to go copy a Drag Race line as your tagline because you're so unoriginal and so basic that...
And then didn't she wish death on a blogger and then the blogger died?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's time for her to go.
It is time for her to go. And then she's like, and then Andy at the reunion was like, you're a mess on Twitter. And she's like, thank you. Like, she was proud of it. Like, Andy was...
So question. So what did you think about the reunion? Because I think that Monique was totally gaslighted. She was totally ambushed. And it was obvious. So I was wondering, did Monique piss off production behind the scenes or something? But what did you think about that? What did you think about it?
Well, what I thought about the reunion is I found out before this that I told them because, I mean, again, I know people at Bravo. I've been in the calls, and I called someone. I'm like, I quickly asked them, is Potomac going to be a 4-part reunion? And they said there's a certain person pitching for a 4-part reunion because I knew that there was a lot of drama to talk about. And I said, it's probably going to be a 4-part reunion. Now, it ended up being a 3-part reunion, but a 90-minute reunion.
Right.
So, I mean... But when it was first in its conception stages, when they were first editing, they were thinking, okay, let's make it a 4-part.
Right.
Now, Andy has come out and said that he wanted it to be a 4-part reunion. He was going to go into Candace a little bit more. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, were you?
Right.
The footage has not been aired. The person who she's angry with has now been fired. And now you come out saying there was more for you to say. Like,
because it's one thing to, to go in on Monique because of the fight, because she did hit someone and it was a brawl.
Violence.
So, but the fact that to allow Candace to skate on her homophobic tweets as a gay man, I just didn't.
Disgusting.
I didn't get, like, why didn't you call her on it? Because and especially since this is not the first time. Like, she has a history of it. So I would think you would at least mention it. And I've seen housewives punished for less than that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of homophobic and racist tweets, what do we think in Vanderpump Rules coming, like, the Vanderpump Rules situation?
So is it definitely coming back?
Yeah, it's definitely coming back with the people who he supposedly fired.
But not with Stassi, right?
No, I believe she's coming back.
Because I know he made a statement recently in one of the blogs or one of the papers. I read something saying that he said that he wished Stassi, like, they actually weren't fired because they wanted to, they could have had a redemption arc.
Yeah.
I know that was mentioned, but so you're saying there's a possibility of them coming back?
No, I think they've actually been rehired back. Unfortunately, I haven't cared enough to look back at them because I'm not the biggest Vanderpump Rules fan. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to get killed for that, but Vanderpump Rules just really has never been my show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, put it this way. If they do indeed come back, because we all know too, even when rumors come out like that, it's always up in the air until you actually see it. So at this point, until we see it, it's just kind of, it's a rumor out there. It's a rumor. Yeah. So if they come back, I won't watch it. But if they come back, I won't watch it. If they don't come back, I will watch it.
Exactly.
Because if the 4 racists don't come back, basically, other than Lala, I pretty much like everybody else. Katie Maloney, I'm kind of on the fence with, only because I found out that she's very vocal about Black Lives Matter. So as a Black person, I'm like, okay, she's being vocal about Black Lives Matter. So I got to kind of give her a tiny little pass. Yeah. But other than Lala, I pretty much like everybody else.
Now, here's my question. What did you think of Katie and Lala being on Salt Lake City?
I mean, it didn't even put a dent in the episode.
Right, like they were brought there just for like the novelty of it. Like
it was kind of a non-issue. It was like they didn't do anything really.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. When I was talking to Mary Amons from the Real Housewives of Washington D.C., she was like, I could have been on Dallas, and they were like, I was spending so much time down there, and they were like, it would have just been the novelty of it. Uh-huh. And now we realize Bravo's prepared to do that at any given cost.
Right. I actually like Mary Amons, so if she went to Dallas, I would not mind that.
I don't either.
So yeah, and like I said, I'm hoping it's just a rumor that they're bringing them back. I hope it's a rumor because I think on their part that would be really dumb. That'd be really dumb.
Right, you say you're firing these people, and I mean also when that dude from Below Deck Med, mm-hmm. the guy who was racist and they fired him literally mid-season. Yeah, he has an OnlyFans if anybody wants to subscribe to that.
Pete has an OnlyFans?
Yeah. Apparently there's some very racy photos on that OnlyFans too, so.
Oh, that's funny.
I know. Yeah.
But okay, and this is my thought on Vanderpump Rules. So living in LA, there are a ton of young, thirsty actors, actresses, models, writers who would love to be on that show and who could absolutely bring it. And I look at that Vanderpump Rules. Do you ever watch Grey's Anatomy?
Yes, I do.
And so do you know how, and so do you notice how Grey's Anatomy, the reason why it's been around so long is because every year they get a new set of interns. And so it kind of reinvents itself because they keep the old people, but then they have the new interns, which end up getting their own storylines. I think that Vanderpump Rules could be like the Grey's Anatomy as far as they could have new blood come in and, you know, keep Tom and Tom because I do like them. And since they do have Tom, keep them. But I think that Vanderpump Rules could be constantly reinventing itself every season. Because to be honest, I don't want to see Jax living in his $2 million home.
It's not real anymore.
You know, I don't want to see Katie. I don't want to see Stassi. I don't want to see any. They're not housewives. If I wanted to see people living their lives and just, you know, whining, that's why I watch Housewives.
Exactly.
I watch Vanderpump Rules to see the 20-somethings act messy in their serving jobs and just, you know.
I don't know. Did you ever watch Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club?
Yes.
Gone too soon. And I actually Michael Mulderrick, who actually has a YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember him.
I'm not familiar with him.
Michael was on the show, and he's the one who got fired for he goes into talk about it on his YouTube channel when he talks about it, but he was like, they were really going to do a season 2. The network was doing it. The only reason there wasn't a season 2 is because Lindsay was Lindsay.
Because I loved her little sidekick, whoever that guy was.
Yeah. And the reason the show ended was because she sold the beach club. And didn't tell production.
Wait, she sold it and didn't tell production?
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I need to pay rent.
They weren't paying her enough on the show?
No, Lindsay's Lindsay, so she blows through money like you wouldn't believe.
True.
On lots of things, so that's the reason why that show ended.
True. But yeah, I'm going to put out there too. If you are part of the Vanderpump Rules casting, I mean, I'm assuming a lot that someone like that would listen to this. But if you're listening, please don't bring the people that you fired back. Please let this be a rumor because I will watch you again if you don't bring them back.
Okay, they say they don't listen to us. Okay, so I remember when I was doing a video about Luann de Lesseps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was doing a story about that.
Yes, I remember that story.
Yeah, which was a very scathing story, and it really hurt me to tell that story, and I want to make sure that's clear. Her cousin was on my Instagram literally a day after.
Really?
Yeah, looking at my Instagram stories, and I was like, oh.
Uh-huh.
Like you say, like it's just a coincidence after I mention your name, your cousin's name, that you're, you know, watching a video that I was talking about, you know, how her kid doesn't even want to be near her anymore.
Right.
Allegedly, like.
Right. Which, you know, it's sad, but I can believe it.
It was the unfortunate truth in that situation.
You know, I can believe it. You know. So do we have anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you so much. You've talked to me for
Andrew, you know what's so funny? I have been having so much fun talking to you.
Me too. Oh my God.
I intended this to be like a 30-minute. How long have we been talking now? For almost 2 hours?
Almost 2 hours, yeah.
Andrew, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. You are officially a friend of the podcast. You are welcome back anytime you want to come back. I'm so glad that you are doing YouTube. I'm so happy that you have started your own YouTube channel because you need to be on YouTube. You're hilarious. You have great information. And can you tell everybody how to find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram through Andrew's Lifestyle _HR. Then you can also find me on Andrew's Lifestyle on YouTube.
Like and subscribe because you will not be disappointed. And so that's it. And until next time, keep reading. If you would like to get in touch with me, or if you would like to recommend a book, you can always email me at therealityreadingrainbow@gmail.com. therealityreadingrainbow@gmail.com. Bye.